Well, ladies and gentlemen, buyers, good afternoon and a very warm welcome to what is sure to be another very special Harcourts Rata and Co auction here at number 12 Fendi Avenue in EPPING. My name is Robert Ozzimo. I proudly represent the company of Harcourts Rata and Co, and I'm joined here today by some of my award-winning team in blue. Should you require their advice, please feel free to approach either Aman, Valley and of course Daniel Taylor, Ilia Menkinoski and Ilia's boss Lou Menkinoski, who no doubt you've all had the great pleasure of meeting throughout the marketing campaign. Guys, let me share with you now the following announcements which in place to help you bid and buy with absolute confidence here today. The auction will be conducted in accordance with the rules and any additional conditions that are made available for inspection before the start of the auction. The auction rules prohibit an auctioneer from accepting bids or offers for a property after the property has been knocked down to the successful bidder. The vendors have a reserve price as the auctioneer will indicate bidders on request. The law prohibits false bids, prohibits major disruptions by bidders and prohibits bidders attempting to prevent others from bidding and provides for fines for such conduct. The rules permit for vendor bids. The words I'll use during the auction to indicate that I'm making a bid on behalf of the vendor are vendor bid, and by law only I, as the auctioneer, can make a vendor bid. The contract of sale has been on display prior to today's auction. We call for 10% deposit upon the fall of the hammer and the signing of that contract to take place here today, with the balance to be paid at settlement in a flexible 30 to 60 days time, at which time the vendor will provide the lucky buyer with vacant possession of the property. All in all, quite a straightforward contract. Everything is in here, everything is quite clear. Buyers, is with my highest recommendation what we offer for your consideration and competition here today. A great opportunity in a great location. We need only look across the road to find immaculate parkland, only down the road to see shopping in the guise of Pacific Airport and of course Lindarum Shopping Precinct, not far away at all. Easy access to good quality schools, both primary and secondary. You can buy today knowing that you are providing an immaculate lifestyle for your family, but also providing security through future capital growth because of all that wonderful infrastructure that surrounds us. The property itself, the perfect family home, plenty of room for the family today, but more importantly, plenty of room for the family to grow into over the years, offering 5 bedrooms plus a study in total, nice open living areas, and of course that theatre at the back or rumpus at the back. You cannot go wrong for you and your family today. So if you'd like to secure your family's future and get that salt sticker up on the board right now, buyers, is the opportunity to secure that right. Where can I see a fair and reasonable starting bid for number 12 Fendi? Who'd like to start us off, buyers? I don't mind the call, I'm in your hands. Start me where you like. So what was that? At 800,000, fair start at 800 now. At 800,000, even money there, across the road at 800,000. Welcome, sir, and best of luck here today. At 800,000, fairly been offered now at 800 the bid. At 800,000, bid there. At 800,000, bid there. Opportunity with everybody else at 800,000 now. At 800,000, fairly been offered for the first call at 800. I'm taking 25 in the rows. In the rise, can I say 25? At 800, make it 25 for 25 got. At 825 the bid. At 825. At 825,000, bid there, my right, your left. Opportunity with you. One bid not enough here today. 825 the bid. At 825 now. At 825. At 825,000, best of luck here today, ma'am. At 825 I have. At 50. No, I'm not taking 5, got to be 25. At 825 I have. At 825,000, make it 50, sir. At 825 the bid. At 825,000. At 825,000, fairly been offered. Bid there at 825. First call at 825,000, done. Second call at 825,000, done. Finished. Third, final call, 825,000, bids there, opportunity with you, sir. It's against your bid, an opportunity behind at 825, at 825 the bid, at 825, at 50 now, where's the 50? With you, sir. Welcome and best of luck at 50 now, at 850,000. Still great value at that, at 50 now. At 850,000, bids here, my left, your right, ma'am, against you at 50, at 850 the bid. At 850,000, fairly been offered at 850 now. At $850,000 the bid. First call at 850,000, all done. Second call, I'll take 10 if it helps, sir. Can I say 60? Only 5. You drive a hard bargain at 55. Welcome back at 55. At 855,000 bids here. Only cost you 5 in the rise, sir. At 855. At 855,000. Easy bidding now at 5. At 855. At 855,000. Fairly been offered now at 855 the bid. At 60 now. Welcome back at 60. At 860,000. Your 5 still good with me if you've got it, sir. At 860,000. Fairly been offered, but the bid's there now and against you. At 860,000. At 860 the bid. At 860,000. Fairly been offered. First call at 860,000. Done. Second call, 860,000. Done. Finished at 65 and welcome back at 65 and 70 surely. At 865 and the bid's here at 865. At 865 the bid. At 865,000 fairly been offered now at 865 bid there. Opportunity with you, sir. It's against your bid. Haven't got about you here, sir, or you back there. At 865,000, awfully quiet over here. At 865,000. At 865,000 fairly been offered now at 865. Once at 865,000. Done. 2.5 at 867.5 at 867,500. We'll go the long way round at 867.5 at 867,500. Easy decision at that. At 867.5. In fact, the best response to a small bid's a big one at 867,500. The bid now 867,500. Fairly been offered now at 867.5 for the first call at 867.5. All done. Second call. 867,500. Done. Finished. 70 and welcome back, sir, at 870,000. I would think so at that level. At 870,000 with that increment at 70 now. At 870,000 bid there, back against your bid, sir. 870,000 fairly been offered at 870. At 870,000. Again, awfully quiet over here. What are you doing there in the crowd, Dan? At 870,000. Create some energy. At 870 now. At 870,000. At 870 bids with you at 870 now. At 870,000 bid there. Opportunity with you, sir. At 870,000. Have we got about you, ma'am, sir, at 870 now. At $870,000 the bid. First call at 870. Done. Second call, 870,000. Done. Finished. Third at 75. Good work, Dan, at 875. At 875, welcome, sir. Best of luck at 875 now. At 875,000, great bid at that at 875. At 875,000. At 875,000, fairly been offered. Bids there now at 875. Can I get 5 on top, sir? Make it 80 in the rise. At 875,000, the bid's there. At 875 on the calculator. 875 plus 5 is 80, sir. At 875. At 875,000, bid there. Opportunity with you. What about 880 now, sir? Ma'am, at 875. Bids over there across the road. Opportunity on this side. At 875, 2.5. 877.5 now at 877.5. At 877,500. One bid, not enough. 80 got. Thank you. At 880,000. At 880,000 now. At 880,000, fairly been offered. Bids back there now at 880. At 880,000, fairly been offered at 880 the bid. 2.5 will get you back on top. 10 might just get it for you. At 880,000 and the bid's there. At 880,000, fairly been offered now at 880 the bid. First call at 880,000. All done. Second call at 1 at 881. 2. At 882 now, at 882. Small bids help the competition come along. You need a big bid to knock the competition out. 882. How much do I want? 3. At 3 now, at 883. 4 at 884. At 884,000. At 884,000 bids there. Give me a big bid, sir. Knock out bid, otherwise I'll wear my shoes out back and forward. 885 now. At 885 and 6. At 886. At 886,000. Take me to 90, sir. Can I say 90 now? At 886,000, fairly been offered. At 886 the bid. At 886,000, fairly. At 90 now. I'm going to go with 90 if you don't mind, Ilia. At $890,000. 95, sir. 90, I saw 5 fingers. At 91, at 891, at 891,000, bid back there at 891, at 891,000, fairly been offered at 891. Sir, you've got to be careful there. I would have taken your money. At 891,000, at 891,000, I'll let you off with a warning. How's that? 891 bids here at 891,000. Sorry, sir. $50. fair enough, we'll take it. No secret commissions though. At 891,000 bids here. First call at 891,000 all done. 95 at 895 now. At 96 at 890. We are selling, Daniel, aren't we? At 896,000. We're on the market and selling. There's no further bids. You'll keep the keys. You have them at the moment at 896,000.
399.
At 99. At 899 the bid.
96 there.
96 over there with the keys. We're on the market and selling. At 896, we are on the market at 900. Had it here first at 900,000. At 900,000, fairly been offered now. Got to be a little bit quicker, sir, if you want to buy, ma'am, at 900,000. Even money bids there. It counts now because we're on the market. We're selling at 900,000. If there's no further bid, we'll sell at that to the highest bidder at 901. At 901,000, we're back there at 901. Are we done over here? That's another 5, sir. At 905 now, at 905. At 905,000. At 905,000, fairly been offered. Can I say 6? At 906 now. At 906,000, back against your bid at 906 now. At 910 now. At 910 and 11. At 911. At 911, 911, search an emergency. We're about to miss out. 915,000 now. At 915, emergency averted. At 915 now. At 915,000. Bid there, 16 got. At 916 the bid. At 916,000. At 916 and 20 got. At 920,000. At 920,000. One's not working for you, sir. Try a bigger bid. At 21. At 921 the bid. At 921,000. Fairly been offered. At 921. At 921,000. Bids there. Keys are there. We're on the market. We sell at 22 now. Got them down to $1,000 bid, sir. At 922. Now's the time to make a statement. Now's the time for a knockout bid. At 25, and there we go. At 925, at 925, at 925,000, raising the stakes here today. At 925, bids there, keys are there. We sell 925 the bid. At 9 1/4, once at 925,000, all done.
26.
At 26 now. At 926 the bid. At 920. At 27. At 927 now. At 927,000. How about 30 in the rise? At 927, bids there. Keys are there. We sell at 927. Not going inside. If you come to buy, bid me now. At 927 the bid. At 927,000. So we done over here? Still thinking? Don't take too long, sir. About to sell. At 927 the bid's there. We're done over here at 927,000. Thank you for your bidding. Let me know, sir. At 927.
500.
At 927 and a half. At 927,500. At 927 and a half, and we're back there. How about 30 in the rise? At 927 and a half in the bids there, you've got them down to $1,500 bids. At 927 and a half, the best response when you get a small bid is a big one. At 927 and a half.
28.
At 28. At 928 now. At 928. At 928,000, fairly been offered, and the bid's back there at 928. So I do need to know if you're in or out. At 928, the bid's there. You still with me?
Yeah, I'm up here. Yeah.
You're definitely done?
I don't know.
Yeah, you don't know? At 928? I'm getting mixed signals here, Ilia, at 928,000. At 928, the bid's there, keys are there, we're selling once at 928, done. Twice at 928,000, done. Finished. Third, final call at $928,000 the bid. All done, all finished, all silent out at 928. We done there, sir? Absolutely done. Thank you very much for your bidding here today. At 928, bids there. Are we done here? It's much more fun to ask for forgiveness and permission. Call them later, tell them you bought it. At 928, the bid's there. Opportunity here, need to know. Are we done over there? 928,000 at 500, 928 and a half. You had them on the rope, sir. Take me to 30. At 30 got. At 930,000. At 930,000. Strong bid in the quick retort. 30's over there. At 930,000, 30's there across the road at 930 now. At 930,000, got to be more decisive if you want to buy, sir. At 930,000, at 930, give me the quick retort at 930 in the bids there. Sold the keys, we're on the market, we sell at 930 the bid. Once at 930,000, done. Second call at 930, done. Finished. Third. At 31, welcome back, sir, at 931. At 931,000. At 931,000 after a long moment of indecision, we're at 31 now. At 931 and the bid's there. At 931, fairly been offered. At 931,000, bids there. One, have they done enough with one? Do we let them have it at that? At 931 the bid. At $931,000 the bid. Once at 931, twice at 931.
500.
At 500, 931 and a half. At 931,500 now. At 931,500, sir, back against your bid at 931 and a half. Are you done now?
All good, thank you.
All done? Thank you very much for your bidding. At 931,500, once, twice, third, final call, 931 and a half, all done, all finished, silent and out. We're out there, we're out here. So if you tell me you're right, I'll sell. We've definitely got your best.
Yeah, not worth it more than that.
Definitely got your best. No more. Thank you very much for your bidding here today. At 931,500. Bids here. Keys are here. We're selling. First call at 931 and a half. All done. Second call at 931,500. Done and finished. Third, final call, 931 and a half. All done. All finished. Silent and out at 931 and a half. We're selling, 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 sold. Congratulations and well, and a free brochure for you, sir. Please join me congratulating our purchasers and our vendors here today. You've just witnessed another successful Harcourts, Rata and Co auction. Have a great weekend. We'll see you again soon. Thank you.